I'd like to call to order the Thursday, February 22nd meeting of the Beaufort County Airports Board. If you'll all rise and please join me in the pledge.
Don't kill yourself.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Public notification of this meeting has been published, posted, and distributed in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act. You all have copies of the agenda received. Any questions on the agenda? If not, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda. Chris, Rich, second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Same story in the minutes. You'll receive copies of the minutes from the January meeting. Any changes, corrections? Not, accept the motion to Rich, motion and second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Minutes passes. We have a public comment session, but I don't think it's necessary today, so we'll skip right past that.
No public.
And John, right to it.
All right, thank you. There must be something big going on since the public's not here. I don't know what it is, but maybe there's traffic out there. All right, am I doing this, Rosie, or are you? No, you're doing it. Okay, because I didn't do that, so. Oh, you're tricking me.
Do we
Can't
know
have
who's electronically signed in? Anybody?
I saw one.
I saw a face.
Yeah, we had, David was, yeah.
Okay. He's the only one, David? All right, well, welcome to the February meeting. Let's see, I guess first we'll just run through the slideshow here. We'll see if this works. Hey, there we go. All right, so we welcome Robert Bass out to Beaufort Executive Airport. And shortly after we hired him, he was actually on shift one day, and we had an opening with one of our examiners, and they got him out there for his check ride. So it worked out pretty well. We covered for him for a couple hours, and he went out there, and now he's a licensed pilot. So another flight school success story out there at ARW, continuing to make pilots, and he's working for us, which is great too. So that is Robert, and if you're flying in and out of ARW, you'll probably see him because he's racking up the hours out there from what I saw. He's working a lot. So yeah, so you'll see Robert out there. All right, we did get a couple of new vehicles. We got a new maintenance truck, which is good. They're really key there. Number one, it's brand new. It's F-250, and it's powerful. Plus, it's got all the toolboxes on the back. So instead of having to carry everything out in the rain and stuff like that, we, it's the little things that help. So nice to be able to do that for Rob. He's really raised the level of our maintenance operation over there substantially. Then the other vehicle is our new electric vehicle over there that we use. It's stationed over at the ARF, and that is really nice because when the ARF team goes to either unlock the building in the morning over at the terminal or secure it in the evening, they don't have to take the enormous fire truck over there and burn the fuel and put the couple hundred yards on it that it takes to go across and do that, so they can drive the EV over there. And they've also been able to use that on some of the airfield surface inspections that they do as well, so that helps out. But good little vehicle, and oh, by the way, when we send our folks to training at the fire academy and things like that, now they've got a vehicle that they can use, which reduces paperwork going through mileage reimbursements and all that stuff, so it's definitely a good asset to have. And you just plug it in, right, if it were that simple. Altitude Academy was a fun event. We did this out at ARW a couple weeks ago. A little bit of a long time coming. We run the race out there in October to benefit this organization. So this past year, we were able to set aside $1,500, which isn't huge, but it's something, and it helps them out. So this was kind of the formal check presentation. Big thanks. We did have a couple of board members. Nick was able to make it, and Chris, to join us for that check presentation to Altitude Academy. So we appreciate them being involved. And we look forward to hopefully being able to continue that partnership and see how they use those funds and continue to educate some of the youth in the area in aviation pursuits, whatever they may be. We recently did some staff training. The entire county is actually going through this. Every county employee is going through DISC training. So if you remember back in the day, you did the Myers-Briggs personality test, and DISC has been around almost as long as Myers-Briggs. It's been researched forever, but it's really an interesting exercise to go through. So our entire group went through it, everybody at the airport. I think actually our chief is he doing it today? Yeah, that's today. So our last guy, our fire chief's doing it today, so we'll see what his personality type ends up being. Can anybody guess what the majority letter might be as far as the dominating letter out there?
D.
I kind of gave it away there. Yeah, it is. Almost everybody on the airport is a D. Not sure if that's good or bad. We get stuff done. We get a lot of stuff done.
That's a lot of chiefs.
But it's a lot of chiefs. We're looking, if anybody out there in the world is an S, we'd like to hire you. I don't care what you do. We need somebody who's thoughtful, supportive, and patient. That's not us. No, we do a pretty good job. And the point is, everybody's got a little bit of all of them. But it's really interesting to go through a series of, I forget what it is, 100 questions or something like that, and answer those, and then it spits out for you pretty much perfectly who you are. It's really, really interesting. So if you haven't done it and you've got the opportunity, I definitely would encourage you to do it. It's pretty eye-opening. I asked if they do one for spouses, and they were quiet on that one. So maybe you don't want to ask that question.
Maybe you don't want to know.
Maybe you don't want to know. Yeah, it's a discovery, right? Okay, we do a lot of tours out of the airport, which both airports. I spoke with the leadership group for the Hilton Head, Bluffton Chamber of Commerce back in December, and one of their questions was, hey, can we come out and see the tower and a couple other things at the airport? So we had a small group come out about 3 weeks ago, I think, and they got to check out the tower and do a nice Q&A with Bill up there, the tower chief. And then they got to take a hot lap in the fire truck as well. So that was pretty fun. And we've got a couple more coming out. Is it next week they're coming? So anyway, this is part of the leadership. The point of the leadership class is really kind of the inside scoop on what goes on in the community. So they spend time with us, they spend time with law enforcement, all different organizations to kind of find out what's the inner workings of Hilton Head Island. So that was fun. And it's always good to have a chance to talk to folks one-on-one and explain to them how our funding works and how it doesn't work and things like that, because a lot of folks don't know. That was fun. We did tenant appreciation for Valentine's Day, so we got donuts for everybody from All Joy Donuts. So if anybody has not experienced All Joy Donuts, I would encourage you, if you need a sugar pick-me-up, that is one guaranteed way to do it. That's like sugar on top of sugar with some baked-in sugar. It's really, you can't miss. But we took care of everybody in the terminal, the FBO, ARF guys, tower guys, everybody who works on the airport got some donuts that day. So that was kind of fun, and everybody was smiling, the airlines, TSA, everybody was happy that morning. So definitely a nice way to appreciate them.
They were all high.
They were all on a sugar high, that's right. All right, we got a little video for you, and I'm going to see. Here we go, ready? Look at this. Used to be trees there. Lots of trees. Yeah, we had some audio. You could actually hear the equipment working, which is cool. Yeah, there you get the backup.
Outside. It's outside.
Yeah.
But that little claw just plucked out all the shrubs that were around the terminal and took all the trees out. You can see a stack of trees there. Those have since been hauled away, and this week they've been scooping out the organics in that area and taking it down a couple of feet and bringing good fill back in and compacting that. So they're doing some pad prep right now. This is a couple of weeks ago, but all that fence is up in there and it's all wide open now. That kind of the whole right side as you come into the terminal has really opened up. And those are our two project superintendents out there. They're on there every single day out on site, doing a great job. So that's the update so far. Probably the first kind of big piece of news that happens on the existing building is in the next couple of weeks, we'll be taking down those canopies, the drive under canopies in front of the building. So those will be fenced off, and we'll take one down since they are over entryways, personnel, people doors. We'll do one at a time. So we've always got a couple of entry and exits open, and the other one will be closed at the time. So that'll take probably a couple of weeks because there's demolition permits that have to get obtained. So it's the fencing and things like that will start off next Monday, and hopefully demolition will follow quickly afterwards. But those canopies will go away. So that'll be the first sign of something big happening to the building. So actually, second sign, the interior, there was an interior wall built, I think yesterday, next to the Delta ticket area. So we've got some work inside the building as well. So it is happening. It's exciting. Here's some before and after pictures. That's what it used to look like. If you remember when you came in for the ribbon cut or the groundbreaking, that's the gate that you came through. And that's kind of the same area right now. You can see a plane taking off. See it's got circled there. So good visibility too. You can watch everything now. There's another one with the trees coming out. This is around the employee parking lot, and that's what that looks like now. It's kind of hard to see how far back that goes, but it goes, good ways beyond the employee parking lot and into the area that was all wooded back in there. And then, like I said, this is coming next. Both of those canopies will be coming down in the next few weeks, and those will be cleared out in preparation for.
John, will there be some temporary canopy in its place to allow passengers to have someplace to hide during construction if they arrive on a poor day?
I will look, and I don't think so, at least not in those locations, because these are being taken down so that road can be worked on.
Yep.
Because all the lanes are going to be changed. So I don't know that there'll be any right there. There may be some across the front sidewalk, so they may not stretch out. But I'll have to look at the drawings just to be sure. I can't remember for certain right now. All right. Any questions before we get on to those updates? Okay, so we'll go through a couple of these items. I can't remember who I told, but last week, actually the day that I got to the conference last week on Wednesday, went right in some meetings, and then after the meetings, I was checking messages, and I had a phone call from Lindsey Graham's office saying that we had been awarded a $5 million grant through the BIL ATP program. So that's that extra money that came available after the 2021 legislation that was signed. And each year you can apply for terminal funding or tower funding through this ATP program. This was our third year applying for it, and we did get a partial award this year, which is great. We had applied for $20 million, and we were awarded $5 million. Now, the total amount available for airports our size in the country is only $97 million. So we were asking for a fifth of it.
Yeah.
And we got 5% of it. So that was pretty good for airports across the country. So we'll take that. Like I tell people, it was $5 million more than I had in my pocket when I woke up that morning. So that's going to be great. And we're working right now. That needs to be under grant very quickly because obviously for political reasons, they need to show that that money's been at least encumbered or, that there's a purpose towards it. I think it's an election year too, maybe.
Yeah.
So yes, with all speed, we will get that money dedicated to projects. So we're working on that now. But definitely a good award there because we'll be able to do more in this first phase than we originally anticipated doing. So definitely a benefit to our customers because that's kind of what it all comes down to. So the SCAA conference was last week up in Myrtle Beach, and probably the highlights, and Eric can add to it if need be, but the two big takeaways I got out of it were, number one, we had a 2-hour one-on-one meeting with the FAA staff. We had the ADO manager, the assistant manager, and their planner all to ourselves for 2 hours to go through all of our projects, which is it's always good and always yields a lot of information through the ideas exchange we have and just kind of some heads up that they can give us Not really inside baseball or anything, but just it's interesting to get their perspective on different processes, from their side of the table than, we're always seeing it from our side. So it's a good chance for us to ask them questions about how would you like to see things, what makes our submittals to you better, and they can ask us some questions about what helps the airports more, how can they better interact with us. So have some good lively discussions, I would say, with the staff. And then the other big takeaway I thought was good was later that same day we had a kind of an airports roundtable where it was only airports staffs, and it was general aviation and commercial airports, and we're all in a room just kind of open dialogue, just trading ideas. So there's ideas getting out there about land leases and, what do you do about this kind of hangar tenant? What happens when this comes up? And who do you guys use for fuel truck repairs and things like that? So it's really interesting to get some of the input from some of the other airport managers and that to find out what's going on across the state, because people do things a lot of different ways, and you always get a couple good nuggets. We got some really good feedback from there, and we were able to contribute some as well. So those are kind of the big two takeaways I had. You have anything else, Eric? Yeah, it's a good conference. I say it every year, but SEAA does a great job putting that on, and it's always a very beneficial conference. Oops, didn't mean to do that. All right, the RBC Heritage presented by Boeing, that's how we call this now, okay? It's not just the RBC, it's not the golf tournament. We call it that because we're investing in it now. We are $30,000 sponsors in that tournament now, and I hope to be sustaining sponsors at that level. We're doing it this year and next year with SCASD money, so we've got grant money to do that. We plan on getting that into our budget because I think, and I'm interested in your opinion, I think it's an important place to stake a significant amount of effort. It's a huge event. It gets national TV coverage. Now it's a signature event on the PGA Series or Tour. That purse went from, I think it was 8 million to 20 million.
To 20 million,
And the top 20 players had to play. I don't know if it's the same way this year, but $20 million purse is going to bring the top 20 the top players. So it's great exposure for us. We're going to have branding on the golf course, which is fantastic. We'll have a booth. It's called the observation deck. It's between the 10th green and the 16th tee. And then we also have branding at the 18th green. That's huge. And we've had a great round of discussions with the folks with the tournament. And we're also going to work on some branding inside the terminal. They're going to do some advertising, and we're going to try to partner on some things. Hopefully on both sides of the airport, both the GA side and the commercial side. But the idea is to get as much plaid out there as possible and just really kind of lock arms on this as a huge local signature event. So I know some of you have been putting a lot of energy into this. So I updated Ann the other day because things just started falling into place. But a great opportunity that's taken a few months to kind of put together. But I think it's huge. I think people are going to take note of it. We've never really been out there at this level. We've done some small commercials and things like that. But this is really going to make an impact, I think. So that'll be exciting. We'll probably be getting in touch with you about some volunteer opportunities to work out there. We've got tickets Thursday through Sunday as well for some of those spots. So don't everybody get excited. We might use those tickets for, other folks who we need to have out there at the tournament. But we'll probably get a couple of you guys out there too working it with us. So huge update there. Any questions on that? That is brand new. So
exciting.
And you're in the drunkest holes on the course.
That's one way to put it. I was told that it's a great place to be. So
the cross traffic there is amazing.
Yep. And the interesting thing about the venue that we're sponsoring is that it's a venue that is only accessible to the folks who have tickets to the similar venue on the 18th green. And those are people that I think the ticket price is $400, $450. So I don't want to say we're getting the normal folks, we'll take anybody. But what we bought is specifically targeted to a demographic that we're very interested in using the airport, both sides of the airport. So it fits very, very well into what our marketing plan is. especially for that local exposure. We'll get national exposure too, because obviously we'll be on TV and we've got a new commercial coming too, so that's cool. But having that local brand awareness is incredibly important as well, because there's a lot of visitors that come, there's a lot of locals that come, and we'll get that good mix. They'll see our new logo, there'll be some handouts that we give away, but I think a great opportunity. So we're looking forward to making that a long-term relationship.
You may want to look too and pay attention to who gets, I forget the official word used, but usually there's a couple of local players that'll be allowed to come in and play. You may want to look at doing some branding with a shirt for them, free shirt, maybe with the logo on, just to help out, and they're local guys as well.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
That'd be very cool.
I've used my one up for the day now. I'm
That's all you got.
I get one good idea a day.
Somebody write that down. All right, good, thank you.
Very exciting, John. That's a great addition, yeah.
Good, all right. So next one, not as exciting, but very important, hangar inspections. We're doing these out of HXD. We do them at ARW as well, but I emailed Rob, who you saw, he was a guy getting a picture taken with a new truck. Rob's kind of a hangar door, overhead door specialist guy. So a great guy to have doing these inspections. So not only is he inspecting to make sure that hangars are being used appropriately in accordance with our rules and regulations, but while he's in there, he's checking the whole thing front to back, top to bottom. So his report to me yesterday after I said, hey, do you have a bullet or two I can tell the board? I got a nice long email with lots of detail. So he put the time into doing this. I'm going to read it to you. So he says, all hangar doors are functioning properly. We did identify a replacement part for a hangar, and we'll be making that repair in the next week. These doors are no longer made, so there's only one place to go to get replacement parts, and those parts are not stocked. They must be manufactured upon request. So that tells me we might want to look at a future solution for doors. We have ID'd several hangars that have some fluorescent light issues, and we'll be replacing those with LEDs. So that, we're identifying and fixing. The inspection consists of checking the full range of door operation, hand checking every inch of the cables, lubricating all pulleys, checking spindle wear and lubricating spindle bearings, checking and replacing any cable wear bars, inspecting main tension spring and spring cable, inspecting the upper and lower limit stops and limit toggle spring tension, inspecting the wind retainer bars, checking door motor capacitors. So they're checking everything out there at the hangars. So if you're renting a county hangar at HXD, you can rest assured that we're going to make sure your hangar works. Now, the other part, we noted several violations in the hangars, and we have pictures and recorded these violations on reports. There are several that are being used more or less as storage units. So we'll be in touch with some of those hangar tenants. So if anybody out there in TV land is a hangar tenant and they're watching this is your fair warning. Get your junk out of the hangars, because we're going to come and we're going to write you up. And we have a lot of people on the hangar waiting list. So if we write you up and you don't move your stuff, then you're going to be moved out of the hangar. We'll put somebody in there who's going to use it for an airplane. So we do this every several months, and it's amazing how fast people move right back in and say, well, they came and looked. They won't be back for a couple of years, so I'll move all my household goods back in there. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not going to work. And if you do it, we'll put somebody out there who's got an airplane and wants to use the hangar properly. So thank you to Rob. That's what we do for hangar inspections. And I think that's a responsible way to manage that county asset there, because we do have a long hangar list at both airports. So we need to make sure that they're being used properly. Any questions there? All right, good. FAA reauthorization. I sent you folks all an email, I think about a week and a half ago on that. Just a couple of real quick highlights there. That's still not finalized. I think by March 8th is what they're looking at, getting something done. I am not 100% sure it'll be done by then, but we'll see. The latest is that there was a Senate group that got together and they made I think it's called a manager's vote. Basically, there's an enormous package of stuff that gets voted on at once. So there's no way to pick it up. It's almost like a consent agenda. It doesn't get picked apart, so everything that's in there kind of gets, if it makes it in, it gets approved. But the big wins out there was that there's a $4 billion in AIP funding that's proposed in that, which is an increase from the $3.35 billion that has been traditional for years and years and years. So it's a slight increase, but it's an increase, so that's good. There's some AIP flexibility in there too that's been proposed. I don't know if it'll survive all the way through, but it's been written in for some non-hub airports to be able to use AIP money for hangars and stuff like that. So we'll see if that survives the final levels of scrutiny. But they're looking at trying to let non-hubs have a little bit more flexibility with that money. So we'd be in favor of any more flexibility with anything AIP related. And then the other one is that there was a, I call it minimum wage meddling. It's called the Good Jobs for Good Airports, which is a complete sham of a name. It basically means we're going to prescribe to you what you're going to pay everybody, which doesn't work because it ends up hurting airports in the long run because it hurts competition. It's just a bad deal. That was thoroughly rebuked. So thank goodness, that's a good thing. Anytime the government's prescribing a minimum wage to a private industry is probably not great for those of us that have to work in that realm. So glad to see that's not going to make it. So those are kind of the highlights of the reauthorization. Brian is, I know he's not on, but he's been keeping up with this in real detailed fashion. And Senator Graham's office probably going to get sick of hearing from him. He's pretty good about getting in touch with them. But that's what it takes. You know, it takes folks like you on an advisory board, you know, writing to them saying, hey, our director does a great job of keeping us in touch with what's going on up there in DC. What are you guys thinking about this, this, and this? It's amazing to see some of the proposals that are getting thrown out there by senators from both sides of the aisle. I mean, some of these things they're really kind of ludicrous. And I think sometimes they throw them out there just to see if anybody's going to read the legislation, because it's really kind of crazy. But so I appreciate you folks getting involved on that. It's important. All right. Any questions on that? I'd like to give you the air service update because I talk with our team every month and at least once, and they always give me a bunch of information when we meet. We talked, I guess it was last week, and it was very interesting because our consultant he just kind of came up with an idea and said, I'm going to look at, you remember we talked about our top 20 destinations last month and how they were about the same year over year, which is very interesting. So he took those top 20, and then he took those very same 20, and while they might not be the top 20 at Savannah, he wanted to do an apples-to-apples comparison. So he said, all right, those same cities, how many folks are flying out of Savannah to go to those cities? And then not only how many folks are there, what's the average fare? And he did this for Q3, which is our latest set of data that we can get from DOT for 23, and then he went ahead and compared it to 22 because you want to see what the trends are looking like just 1 year, year over year. And it's very, very interesting there because what's going on between the two airports is that the average fare at Hilton Head has gone down $11 in a year for our top 20s on average. Some are up, some are down. Savannah, they've gone up 18. So it's a $29 swing. So if you're willing to drive to Savannah and fight through that traffic and pay for your parking and walk a long way to the terminal, it's a beautiful terminal. But if you'd rather fly closer to home, we can do it for you, and the prices are getting much more competitive. Now, there's a lot more that goes into that with scheduling and things like that. But for everybody who always feels like Hilton Head is going to be the more expensive option, is not necessarily the more expensive option. So that's good news. We've also got significant market share in some of the destinations that more of the folks are flying to. Let's see. LaGuardia, we actually pull almost 30% of that market share between the two airports, which is very strong.
So you're saying, let me just back. So you're saying out of the 100 people that come out of LaGuardia, we're bringing 30 of them directly into Hilton Head. 70% of them are going into Savannah.
These are enplanements. So these are folks leaving ours to go there.
Okay.
So we're
30%
sending.
of them are boarding in Hilton Head.
Yep.
70% are boarding in.
What year is the data based on? Because we didn't last year, John, as you know, we didn't have a We used to have a Delta LaGuardia flight. I don't think we had that last year.
Well, I'm not talking necessarily nonstops, because keep in mind, in the top 20, we don't have 20 nonstops right now. This is destinations, and they may be connecting, but they're departing, they're originating from
From Hilton
Hilton Head.
Okay.
So, because we've got LAX on here. We're competing at LAX. Believe it or not, a lot of people are flying to LAX. In fact, in Q3, we had 917 people fly to LAX out of Hilton Head.
Not surprised me at all.
Tons of people in Hilton Head. So what this does for us is it really helps us on a marketing basis, because we know where to go. And when we have our conversations with the airlines, we can also back up, because I'm sure they analyze this, but they probably do it differently than we do. But our air service people can translate this into a marketing package and go after some of these specific routes. So that's what all of this does for us.
John, does LaGuardia differentiate from Newark? Or is it just New York?
It does, and that's interesting, Rich, because Newark is our largest market. And we're about 15% of that market, and we're $40 more expensive than Savannah.
But, okay, so looking at that, how do our top 20 destinations work out versus their top 20 destinations? How similar are they? 15 out of the 20, or you're?
That I don't know, because
Okay.
this was just our top 20, and then
Yeah.
he took those same cities and looked at them from Savannah. So I don't know what their top 20 are.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can you share that with us? Or
yeah, absolutely.
please, that's
Yep.
interesting stuff, just to.
It is kind of neat. Like I said, it really informs our marketing efforts too. So,
At the
Rocio,
same
can you make a
time-
note and I'll share that?
At the same time, can we get the Savannah name off of the Hilton Head Airport?
That's up to you. You're a board member. You got more juice on that than I do. Remember that letter writing campaign I talked about? Loosen up that wrist. All right, next one, billboard.
Can we back up for a second?
Yeah.
Air service, that this may not be fit right in what you're talking about, but the schedules for the upcoming summer and all, have Delta and United come back and what they're gonna be?
They are, and they're going to be very similar to last year.
Okay.
Yeah. The end of the summer is not completely set yet, but it'll probably be very similar to last year.
Any hints at increases or
Not right
in their
now.
frequencies and, okay?
Did they give you any start dates yet,
Yeah.
John, or are they not
As long as they don't cut it.
quite set up to do that?
Oh, no, United comes back March 31st, and Delta is it April? It's either 15th or the 20th. It's actually the 22nd, because I know internal to Delta, they're lobbying to come back before the Heritage starts.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah.
coming back right after the tournament.
Yeah.
Makes no sense.
Makes
So
no sense.
somebody's not a golfer in Delta planning.
Mm-hmm.
So, but if they come early, I'll give them a plaid hat to wear, and we'll get them tickets to the tournament.
Does it make sense to send out a press release, let the world know that, that, at least United is starting up March 31st or whenever it may be? And as Delta comes back, same information, so folks down here who live down here as well as travelers know when to start looking at direct flights?
Yeah, we'll take a look at that and see. Yep.
And refresh my memory again, why did they cut the service? Was it because they didn't feel there was enough volume at the time? Or they had crew and airplane issues, or all of that?
All that.
It's probably not getting much better.
Being a former airline, you redeploy.
Yeah,
Winter months, you can send those airplanes and those few pilots. That part of the problem is the majors stole all the regional pilots, and so you send those to the snow destinations. It's frustrating.
Yep. Hopefully that relaxes a little bit, because some of the feedback that we get from our air service folks as well, they focus on the pilot, manpower issue. It's starting to get a little bit better. I know FedEx and UPS have stopped sucking up a lot of people, and they've actually let some folks, they've furloughed people. So they're full up on pilots now, so they're good. There's always a good and a bad to everything. The good to that is the numbers are looking better. The bad to that is, or the potential bad to that is, what do these numbers look like? Quantity, quality issue, how fast are we pushing people through the pipeline? How much OJT are they getting? I know Ann's husband Nick's a 777 captain. be interesting to hear from Nick, his perspective on how this is working out. Could be good, could be bad. So it's good that the industry is trying to respond to the shortage. I think we just want to all make sure that the quality remains in place. And I know the airlines obviously take that into account, but you can't help but think, every time we try to react to something quickly, you gotta be careful. So we're glad the numbers are starting to get better. Even still in our situation, it will take a number of years to see the impact of that. Unfortunately, the negative impact happens very quickly, but the positive impact for us is gonna take a number of years to come around.
I think when you get your jetways, that'll be a big deal.
Yeah, we're really hopeful for that. I mean, I think that'll make a difference.
Build it, they'll come.
Yep. Good. Keep saying that. Keep talking to the elected officials about that, because we got 5 million, we asked for 20, and we need a lot more than that for phase 2. But yes, we're optimistic for the same thing, Tom. Yep. The fact of the matter is it's a fantastic market. 7th year in a row, it's the #1 island. People want to come to Hilton Head Island, so it's a fantastic market. And yes, if you build it nicely, they are going to come. And yes, if you have good parking, adequate parking, convenient parking, nicer TSA checkpoint, larger boarding gate areas, the locals are going to stop driving off the island. Okay, because like I said, DOT is not moving fast. Nobody's moving fast to fix 278 and the bridge problem. So there's more and more incentive. That's going to benefit us at the airport. There's more and more incentive to use your local airport to fly into and out of. I've not paid off DOT to slow that project down because I have to drive that bridge. All right, anything else on that? Okay, if you're driving off the island and hopefully you're watching the road, but the billboards are there for a reason, you should look to the left as you come off the island, as you're going past Lowe's, Moe's, Chick-fil-A, all that stuff. We're right there. There used to be a Forsyth jeweler, so if anybody buys jewelry and saw that nice picture up there, we're up there now, so keep looking that way. We directly oppose the Savannah billboards. We picked that location for a reason.
That's what I was thinking.
And we intend on keeping that. They are not cheap. They're not cheap at all. We're funding that with SCASD money as well right now, but we're gonna have to find a way to fund that into the future. I think it's important to maintain a presence there and to be able to change out that artwork so it looks different from time to time. But it's a good location, and we'll try to add some more out there too. So pay attention next time you're coming off the island. If you're stopped at that light, it's at Malfresh Road. So if you're going to Lowe's, that area over there to the left, to the right is Collin River. Look off there to the left, and you'll see our billboard up there. And then on top of that, new commercial coming soon. We had, let's see, when was it? I guess it was the very beginning of February. We had a videographer come down. I might have told you last time. And he spent about 4 or 5 days on the island. I only saw him a couple of times. He was out and about. But his sole purpose was to take all kinds of video and put stuff together to make a new first-class commercial. So when you see, I've seen the commercial there, he's got several different versions and they're fantastic. The only teaser I can give you is that he did go out to the overrun, he did lay on his back, he did get some video that way. So you might see an airplane fly directly over the camera.
Right on the EMAS laid down.
Really, really cool videos. Definitely many, many steps above what we've been able to do in the past. Some very interesting quotes from travelers in there that might mention competitor airports, maybe not in the most favorable light. Those were not edited out. But anyway, those will be exciting.
Once
Can't-
they're released, can you put them on our website?
Oh, yeah, they're going to be all over the one. Yeah, we'll shout it from the mountaintops when they come out there. So the goal is they're going to be playing during the tournament. So that's another way that is national TV that's on. So we said we've got to spend the money and put together a first class commercial and make sure when we do that it shows very, very well. So it's very cool. I'm excited. I wanted to show you today, but I just can't do it yet. But it's really cool. I think you guys are gonna like it. So we're excited. All right, I think we are just about rounding this out. April meeting date changed because of the golf tournament. So, and we didn't want to cancel because I know you guys we've got elections next month. So be thinking about that. If nobody's really consider it yet. Take a look at some of the leadership positions. We got to change things around. It's that time, so be thinking about that. And that is the conclusion of my report.
John, thank you. Very exciting. One of the most exciting years that I've been involved between terminal expansion, heritage, and everything else, the billboards and advertising. Outstanding. I do have a couple of questions, or at least one question locally. Any further word on what's developing with Project Cloud on the north end of Hilton Head?
I don't have any updates, no.
No update there? Okay, no, that was actually my only other question.
Okay.
What, do you know what the percentage was of, percentage of capacity last year? Obviously wouldn't have it yet for this year, but last year on deplanements and enplanements, you know, how many people, what was that? Were we at 90% capacity of the flights coming in? On
Oh,
average,
okay.
or-
Load factor?
Yeah, is that what they
that-
call it? in
yeah, the
airline
airlines
load
refer
factor?
to it as
Yeah,
load.
Number of open
That's-
seats, let's call it.
Yeah, number of revenue producing seats, because you
Yeah.
always have non-revs flying
Right.
too. In general, across the board, I would say that it was probably upper 70s to mid 80s, depending on the destination. Some were obviously higher, some were obviously lower. But actually not bad. You know, in perfect times, you want to be in the mid 80s to 90. That's great. Especially considering those are revenue seats. But to have a few routes in the mid 90s was pretty strong. I think Newark was like steadily in Chicago with United, even though they were one a week, they were running, I want to say 83, 85%. So pretty good load factors across the board.
The Delta rep at the groundbreaking said that they were in like 82, 83%.
Yep.
For all services.
The way they ran that, and they're doing that same thing this year, where they come from LaGuardia, come to us, and then go to Atlanta, and then do the reverse, that is working very, very well. The way they've got that timed, they're hitting those different banks just right with the right clientele, and they saw good numbers out of that. Yep. So they're doing the same thing, which we're happy for.
So if we're advertising for them, for more people, obviously, to come and use the airport, both ways, right? The reality is we only have a percentage that we can move it up based on where we're already at, correct?
Well,
So if
yes
we
and
say we
no.
had 80%, we only got 20% remaining to try to fill that. That's who we're looking for.
Well, that's with one airplane.
Yeah,
I mean, our goal obviously is to create the demand, the need that the airlines look at it and say, this is an amazing market.
Then that's the second phase of that.
We need to
They
increase
see
frequencies.
enough of it to
You want
bring
more
in
than
more
7
flights.
airplanes on a Sunday.
Yeah.
Yep.
7 flights on a Sunday, yeah.
Our rule of thumb used to be, if we hit 85, then we looked at another flight.
Okay.
So, you know, Delta wasn't quite at the 85, and you look at what their schedule is for this year. Right now, they're just one daily for each destination.
Yeah.
But if that one keeps running at the percentages they are, they could then add another flight.
Okay. That's good to know.
And they can add them fast. I mean, it's,
Yep, somebody wins, somebody loses. All right, anything else? Okay, we will move along to Howard, back to you.
Unfinished, just stay there, John. Any unfinished business board needs to deal with from last month? None? Back into the new business.
All right. Now, both of these items are very early to come to you, but since when we put packages together to apply for A-Tax and H-Tax, we do need to provide them our board minutes that said, hey, director, go apply for H-Tax and A-Tax. So we want to go ahead and get you to vote on both of those. We did break them out 2 ways. So the first one talks about, let's see, we've got Town of Hilton Head Island accommodations tax, and that's what we use, we call A-Tax. That needs to be used outside of 50 miles. So that's the definition of a tour. Somebody comes in from outside of 50 miles. So we use that to go after the inbound folks that you're talking about, Chris. You know, so we're up in New York City, we're in Boston, we're in DC, and we're doing that with just a couple $100,000, which you could spend in an afternoon on advertising up there. But that's what we do each year with that one. So that's the background on number one. And then number two is this is These are all handled locally, but there's a state tax and there's a county tax that we apply for. And those we apply for both airports, and that can be used for tourism marketing and or tourism infrastructure, but depending on how you apply for them. So an example of how we've used that is at Hilton Head Island Airport, we've used H-tax, which is hospitality tax, which is on prepared food and drinks. That we can use for local marketing, so brand awareness, billboards, things like that locally. And then at ARW, we've used that to renovate the terminal, to match that with a state grant and renovate that terminal. It's going to be to put up new signage, and we can use some of that money on airport infrastructure because that board looks at the airport as a tourism gateway. So those are some of the ways that we'll use those funds, and we just like to get a positive vote from the board so that we can indicate that when we make the applications.
All right, so we'll accept a motion for the approval to the town of Hilton Head for an application for the accommodation tax for the benefit of tourism and marketing. Jim, Mark is the second. Any further questions for John or discussion? All in favor of that, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes.
All right, do you want to do the second one, or do we get them all in? Do we get all that in one?
No, I think we need a second one. Also accept a motion for the approval for an application for the state and county hospitality tax and accommodation tax for grants for Hilton Head and ARW airports. Jim again, and Nick, so second. Any other questions for John? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, back to you.
John, thank you very much. Great report, very exciting. See things happening. All right, nothing specific on the chairman. We can go to committee reports. Leslie is out today, but I assume she's working on the program again for Hilton Head Airport. That'll be put together. She did a great job the last couple of years, and I think that'll work out just fine this year. And Ann, do you have anything to add to John's
No,
Heritage Golf?
we're gonna work on it. John will give me direction and I'll send the committee members a report.
Okay, great. Nothing on the Budget and Finance Committee. ARW.
Yeah,
Yes.
ARW, we talked, has anything changed since we had that meeting? I don't think it has, right? So we're still in the permitting process on the new hangars. Some ideas were talked about that have to be flushed through legal to be talked about then, just to help on funding. We also went through about a new sign will be coming up about another 4 to 6 weeks, we're figuring, for the sign to be up out in front of ARW. It's gonna be a little nicer than the HXD sign.
Not as grand, though.
Just
Not as
kidding, just
grand.
kidding. They'll just be the same, but yet different. And I think that was the main, most of our discussion. Is there anything else that we talked about, Mark, that needs to be brought up?
Not
Jim?
in depth.
No, I think that was it. Primarily the hangars have taken up the most time on.
Who's actually doing the legal review? Is that Eric? Who's handling finding out, that legal stuff we were talking about in the meeting?
I think that was it.
We're gonna have to have a meeting with the lawyer after we get done with this stuff that we're dealing with right now.
Yeah,
So it's gonna be on hold for a couple of weeks.
okay. Yeah, so that's where
You
we're at.
guys are doing
Yeah,
that.
we're gonna-
Yeah, they're doing that, yeah.
All right, is Brian online with us today? Was he not? Outside, okay. There was, maybe Rich, do you want to report on
Meeting?
the committee meeting that we had and John's presentation to
You were
the
there too.
north end?
Well, we got the follow-up email from Brian, and I think that went to the entire board, so the email speaks for itself.
Brian had organized a meeting with John for the north end tenants, the executive air tenants at Hilton Head Airport at the end of January. Fairly well attended. John and his crew were there, were very forthright answering questions and concerns. I thought pretty productive meeting. We'll have to see that happen again, maybe every 6 months or once a year.
It should be noted that just executive was there.
But it was,
Yeah, no, it was excellent.
It was a first-time event, and I thought, handled very well, nicely done. All right, anything else? We're going to accept a motion to end the public portion of the meeting at this time, since there'll be an executive session. So I'll accept a motion to close the public portion of the meeting. Jim, second. John? All in favor, please signify saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Public portion of the meeting is closed at this time. And
Recording
Turn the
stopped.
video off and